What if I told you that the quantum leap you're looking for isn't in the struggle or in persistence, but precisely when you stop trying so hard? What if everything you believe is necessary to change your life is, in fact, what's keeping you from changing? What if your attachment to effort, to technique, to control is exactly what keeps your vibration stuck in the place you no longer want to be? What hides behind resistance to simplicity is one of the biggest blocks for anyone seeking deep transformation. Because the real timeline shift doesn't require more effort, it requires more presence. The problem is, most people never learned how to be in that silence. And that's why nothing changes. Have you noticed how the mind loves to complicate what is simple? Convinces you that, to change your life, you need to go through a long process, filled with methods, tests, and external validations, as if you had to suffer in order to deserve it. But the universe doesn't respond to how much you do. It responds to how coherent you are with what you desire. And that almost always gets lost in the excess of effort. Here's an uncomfortable truth nobody tells you. What blocks your manifestation isn't the lack of technique. It's the excess of internal noise. It's the unconscious habit of doubting anything that comes easily, because you were taught that lightness can't be trusted. But in the physics of quantum manifestation, the cleanest vibrational frequency is the most powerful. And the only way to access it is to reprogram your mind to trust in what's already yours by right, not in what you feel you still have to earn. In this video, you'll discover how to access this state of clarity. We'll explore the 5 codes that precede any major reality shift, even if it feels impossible right now. And it all begins with the most subtle of blocks, the difficulty of allowing it to be easy. There's a moment in the process of quantum manifestation that few people talk about. That second when you finally stop. It feels strange because we've been taught since childhood that everything is conquered through effort, sweat, total focus. But what if I told you that, many times, it's precisely when you release control that the timeline shift happens? It's in that silence, almost uncomfortable, that the energetic field truly hears you. You know that feeling of screaming inside for change, yet everything around you stays the same? It's like being in an empty room, shouting, and then suddenly you stop. Total silence. And for the first time, you hear, you. That's when your subconscious mind catches what had been drowned out by the noise of your own urgency. The universe doesn't respond to your desperate plea, but to your vibrational state of surrender. This moment reminded me of a time when I was trying to manifest a specific professional opportunity. I did all the rituals, visualizations, manifestation techniques. Nothing. Until one day, exhausted, I gave up. I literally thought, forget it. I'll just live my life. And the next day, without warning, without logic, what I wanted arrived. That made me question, was the effort blocking the flow? When we talk about raising your vibration, many people imagine climbing, growing, rushing upward. But raising can also mean silencing. It can simply mean stopping the attempt to force reality. Because when you force, you're saying to the field, I don't have it yet. And that's the internal programming that echoes. When you release, you say, I trust. And that's what collapses the desired reality. Imagine a lake. If you throw a stone in anger, everything ripples. But if you just observe, it reflects the sky. Your energetic field works the same way. Sometimes what's missing is not another technique, but less noise. When you enter energetic alignment with inner silence, what was once a whisper becomes direction. Clarity emerges. Many people think stopping is failing, that letting go of insistence is giving up on the dream. But what if stopping is, in truth, allowing the dream to reach you? The law of attraction works in vibrational reciprocity. It's not about how badly you want it, but how much you allow. And allowing often means staying quiet enough to realize it's already here. That inner silence is where elevated vibration resides. And here's a simple practice. Deep breathing, 3 minutes a day with no expectation. Just be. This reprograms your mind, cleanses your vibrational frequency, and trains you to release and receive. No requests, no lists, just you and the universe in communion. You become the space where abundance enters. Another practice that transformed me: walking in silence. No podcast, no stimulus. Just walking. Seems too simple, right? And that's why it works. Your subconscious mind functions best when you give it space. That's your energetic field reorganizing you from within without conscious effort. That's quantum manifestation happening on a subtle plane. How many times have you sabotaged your shift by not being able to handle simplicity? The idea that something so big could come in an instant of peace is, for many, almost offensive. But the quantum leap doesn't arrive with fireworks. It comes with the pause. It's in that silent void that your new identity begins to vibrate. Do you want to change your reality? Then observe your impulse to always do something. Sometimes the greatest action is not reacting, not seeking, not trying, just being. Your new timeline doesn't need noise. It needs space. And that space is created with presence and trust. Trusting the universe is trusting yourself in silence. Now, if this makes sense to you, take the chance to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because if an idea this subtle has already made you reflect, imagine what's still to come in the next contents. Sometimes a single phrase can open the field, and you won't want to miss the next keys. Let's move now to an even more invisible and powerful point. The moment when you realize it's not about listening, but about tuning. Have you noticed how much we love to complicate everything? It seems that the simpler the answer, the less we believe in it. This happens a lot when it comes to quantum manifestation. The subconscious mind has been conditioned to believe that what is valuable must be difficult. And that's exactly why so many people fail. They're looking for complexity where there's only pure vibrational frequency. This search for elaborate techniques, for secrets hidden in rare books or distant gurus, is often just an elegant way to avoid looking within. Because, let's be honest, maintaining a self-image tied to effort and struggle gives you a sense of control. But the universe doesn't respond to what you know. It responds to what you are, energetically speaking. Here's a practical example. I know someone who tried everything: 5x55, scripting, vision boards, the 369 method. She did it all with military discipline. But nothing changed. When we talked, I realized she was doing it all out of fear it wouldn't work. In other words, she vibrated scarcity. Even wrapped in manifestation techniques, her frequency was doubt, not certainty. That's the big shift. Your internal programming is more important than the external technique. If your subconscious mind is programmed with, "This won't work," it will sabotage any attempt at manifestation. That's why reprogramming your mind with simple, coherent beliefs has much more effect than repeating automatic affirmations without feeling anything. Complexity gives you an alibi. If it fails, the method is to blame. If it doesn't work, the problem was the execution. But when you simplify and align with the elevated vibration of what already is, there's nowhere to hide. You come face to face with your vibrational truth. And that, while scary, is liberating. Imagine someone who wants to attract abundance but deep down believes money is dirty, or that it only comes through struggle. That person could chant 1,000 mantras, but their energetic field would still be repelling money. And the universe mirrors that. That's why it's not about repeating phrases. It's about collapsing the old reality, shifting identity, and honestly elevating your vibration. An analogy I love is the radio. You know when you turn the dial to find a station? If they're static, even minimal, the sound isn't clear. Complexity is that static. When you clear it away, tuning happens. Clarity is magnetic. And the quantum field recognizes that purity and responds. Another personal example. When I abandoned the excess of manifestation content and started listening to myself more, everything flowed. I stopped trying to fit my life into formulas and began to guide myself by resonance. I'd ask, does this expand or contract my field? Simple as that. And that's when things really began to move with ease. Simplicity scares because it dismantles the identity of someone who is always fighting. And if it's not hard, who am I? That question might seem silly, but it holds one of the most common blocks in the timeline shift. Many people would rather keep trying than accept that they already are, because accepting means letting go of the drama, and drama is addictive. Manifestation techniques work, of course, but they are tools, not crutches. If you need them to feel worthy, then the energy of worthiness still isn't integrated, and the universe responds to that gap. When you truly trust the universe, the tools become ornaments, not necessities. So I invite you to do this exercise now. In your manifestation routine, what is genuine and what is just performance? What comes from your essence and what is just empty repetition? The answer doesn't require guilt. It only requires presence. And that honesty with yourself is the beginning of true reality shift. In the next topic, we'll explore the most neglected point in this process. The moment before transformation, that silent chaos that almost no one understands, but which, if you cross with awareness, places you in the frequency of your new self. Have you ever felt lost right at the moment when you thought everything was about to work out? That strange sensation that life is falling apart just when you started aligning with your new reality? Exactly. That unsettling moment is one of the most important in the timeline shift. But because they don't understand it, many people give up when they are just inches away from transformation. The subconscious mind interprets this chaos as regression, but in truth, it's your energetic field reorganizing itself. When you start raising your vibration and collapsing the old reality, everything that no longer aligns needs to dissolve. And let's be honest, dissolving isn't comfortable. The silent, strange, sometimes even painful. This phase is like the universe recalibrating frequencies. Think of it as an identity shift. You're leaving behind who you've always been to embody a new version of yourself. But your ego, trained for survival, screams. It wants the comfort zone back. That's why this moment brings confusion, doubts, and even sadness, even when you're on the right path. Here's a personal example. During a time when I was in full expansion, receiving clear signs of quantum manifestation, out of nowhere I started doubting everything. Felt like nothing was working. But looking back, it was exactly then that my old internal programming began to crumble. And that breakdown was essential for the reality shift that came next. The analogy of the empty hallway fits perfectly here. Between a door that closes and another that opens, there's a dark corridor. If you don't understand that this emptiness is part of the process, you'll mistake it for failure. But the void is the space where the new anchors itself. Elevated vibration needs silence to stabilize. Simplicity, once again, is scary. Another point almost nobody mentions. In this pre-expansion chaos, the universe tests your vibrational coherence. It checks if you'll maintain your frequency even when everything seems uncertain. Because if you can only vibrate high when things are going well, you're not stable yet. True energetic stability is born in the middle of turbulence, not outside it. People who manage to hold their vibrational frequency without guarantees are the ones who cross the timeline shift most powerfully. Because in that space they prove to the field that they no longer depend on external reality to feel what they want to manifest. They feel first, and the universe responds after. It's the famous let go and receive in its purest form. It's as if the old reality were collapsing, but the debris is still scattered around. And you need to walk through those ruins with faith, holding firmly to the new internal programming you chose. This is the space between almost and it happened. Subtle but decisive. Here's a powerful exercise. When you find yourself in this silent chaos, ask, what is trying to die within me so that the new can be born? That simple question shifts your frequency because it activates the quantum observer, takes you out of the victim narrative, and places you in the role of co-creator. And that consciousness shift changes everything. This moment of instability is not a mistake. It's the gestation of your new frequency. Once you understand this, you'll stop resisting. And it's exactly then that manifestation becomes inevitable. because you're no longer trying to force reality, you're merging with it from the inside out. This is where you begin to truly trust the universe. Because when you stand firm even without solid ground, the field responds with firmness. And then, the identity shift consolidates, the self-image adjusts, and the new begins to arrive. Not as magic, but as a reflection of your new level of consciousness. And it's at this new level that we step into the next point. The real role of energetic coherence, and why it's far more important than any manifestation technique. Have you noticed how sometimes your words vibrate one thing, but your body emits another? That subtle mismatch between what you say or say you want, and what you actually feel is one of the biggest blocks in quantum manifestation. That's because real change doesn't come from what we verbalize, but from the vibrational frequency we radiate, often unconsciously. Manifestation techniques and the law of attraction do have their place, of course. But if your internal programming still whispers, "I'm not enough," or "I don't deserve it," the universe simply mirrors that message back to you. It's like trying to tune an instrument that's out of tune. No matter how correctly you hit the note, the sound comes out distorted. The energetic field doesn't lie. It responds to coherence, not surface-level intention. Energetic coherence happens when mind, emotion, body, and energy field all speak the same language. If you say you want to attract abundance but your vibration still carries scarcity, urgency in the desire, insecurity underneath, instead of resonating with the dream, you echo the old pattern. And that's exactly what manifests around you. Coherence is being whole in what you desire. I lived this myself. I affirmed abundance daily, visualized, read motivational books. Nothing shifted. It was only when I realized my field was still vibrating guilt. Guilt for having more, guilt for deserving, that things changed. Only after consciously working on the frequency of worthiness, clearing the old programming, did my vibration truly rise. The shift happened, and it came from the inside out. Think of it this way: your energetic field is like a Wi-Fi network. When coherent, it's fast, reliable, easily connects. But when cluttered with conflicting thoughts, everything lags and disconnects. Coherence works like clearing bandwidth, opening space for the frequency you want to attract to flow. The ego loves inconsistencies. It thrives in drama. Staying misaligned feels safe because it confirms old narratives. It's always been hard becomes identity. And when you try to raise your vibration to attract a new reality, the ego interprets it as betrayal. Energetic coherence breaks this. It reprograms you into a new identity, lighter and truer to who you want to be. That's why people confuse being vibrationally coherent with doing self-help performance. But there's a vital difference. Coherence is quiet, rooted in integrity, not in willpower. It's not performance, but presence. When you realign with the universe, you're not pretending. You're holding your tone steady, even when the world pressures you with noise. Coherence takes root when you respond to life consciously, not reacting, but choosing how to vibrate. If someone disrespects you, you decide to maintain your elevated frequency, not through force, but through clarity of who you're being and what you're creating. That's the foundation for your energetic field to recalibrate around you. Here's a powerful exercise. When you feel anxiety or fear, pause and ask, asterisk, what is this emotion trying to show me about my current frequency? Asterisk, you don't need to shift it right away, but you do need presence. With that presence, you witness, understand, and reprogram your frequency with compassion. That's the space where your vibration truly begins to change. The most beautiful part? Coherence doesn't isolate you. On the contrary, it makes your presence magnetic. People, opportunities, inspirations begin to flow naturally. You don't force it. They resonate with the elevated frequency you stabilize. That's quantum manifestation happening as reflection, not as effort. And here's the most liberating truth. You don't need to arrive there to maintain coherence. It's born in the exact moment you choose alignment. From that moment on, collapsing the reality that vibrates with you isn't a technique. It's existence. And this leads us directly to the next point, the art of letting go and receiving, where your new reality already rests. Have you ever imagined that a small gesture could ripple through your life like an expanding wave? It's fascinating. These microactions hold the power to transform your entire energetic field. That's the secret of quantum manifestation. Believe it, sometimes the key isn't in grand formulas, but in the small signals you send to the universe. When you smile at someone with intention, or breathe consciously for just a few seconds, you're emitting vibrational frequency. It's like tossing a tiny pebble into a calm lake. Even if subtle, it generates waves that travel through everything and reach places you can't even imagine. I remember one morning when, exhausted, I decided to stop. No checking my phone, no anticipating the day, just breathing, feeling the coffee. That micropause changed my entire day. I felt elevated vibration wrap around me. In that instant, my reality shift began. Not through force, just presence. Some of these small acts crystallize your internal programming with more power than hours of visualization. That's because the field responds to what you radiate with authenticity. You're not just affirming something, you're vibrating that reality. And that alone is enough for the universe to start reorganizing your life. Here's a practical example. Start your day by being grateful for the minimum. The air you breathe, the sunlight through the window simply existing. That activates the energy of worthiness in your field. It's simple, it doesn't demand more. It demands presence. And that already changes everything. It makes a difference, truly. A gratitude note, a conscious pause, a gentle look in the mirror. These are subtle manifestation techniques, but incredibly effective. They collapse old patterns and raise your frequency with lightness. And that's how the law of attraction really begins to work. Try this, write in your journal just one good thing that happened, something small. Even if it's simply drinking water. Do it with presence and sincerity, without demanding more. The repetition builds an abundance-oriented self-image, even if quietly, that activates a timeline shift organically. The magic of microactions is that they align you energetically with what already exists in the field. It's not about changing the external world, but about adjusting your center. And then, the identity shift happens before the manifestation, inside you. And don't get trapped by logic. These actions often defy common sense. It's like planting a seed you don't see grow, but eventually harvest. Letting go and receiving in this dimension requires trust in the universe. Trust that the small act, when vibrated, has quantum reach. The universe loves coherence. When you do something simple with truth, you attract aligned synchronicities. One micro-alignment can draw in people, ideas, paths, everything organizes around the frequency you radiate. This isn't theory, it's experience. So what small action can you take right now? A conscious breath, a mindful pause, a sincere thank you? Choose one micro-attitude and make it your pillar of presence today. You'll see how your energetic field begins to vibrate differently. And with that, you start attracting abundance organically. Now that you understand that the real timeline shift doesn't happen through effort, but through vibrational coherence, the question is, will you keep trying to control everything? Or will you finally trust the universe and become the magnet that attracts what is already yours? This decision is yours, but know this, the energetic field doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to your vibration, your internal programming, and your most intimate self-image. So, what are you willing to let go of today in order to receive what you've been seeking? What still needs to be reprogrammed in your subconscious mind so you can collapse the reality you feel you deserve? Comment below, what was the biggest key that turned for you in this video? This helps me understand where your consciousness is vibrating. And of course, if you want to keep learning how to raise your vibration, reprogram your mind, and access manifestation techniques that really work, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. This is only the beginning of your identity shift.